If we can't talk to each other, we're not going to make it.
Sometimes I feel like I've bitten off more than I can chew.
Most of the time, I work in a glass jar and lead a very uneventful life.
A face full of glass hurts like hell when you're in it.
That's weird. That glass looks half full to me.
Eating glass.
Eating glass and staring into the abyss.
Glass? Who gives a shit about glass? Who the fuck is this?
It's kind of part of our culture to eat glass.
Gotta get some safety goggles next time.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Chewing Glass, the show where we talk to developers building in the Solana ecosystem. Today, I'm joined by quite the OG Solana engineer, Siong of Mercurial, Meteora, and Jupiter. And all these things are essentially under the same umbrella, but like Siong and I have we've never met, but we've engaged over the course of the last few years. He helped out with some developer experience stuff, wrote some things. We never met, but like it's awesome to have him here because he's been building a lot of crazy stuff over the last few years. So anyway, Siong, like great to have you on, man.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, we'll save this for later, but I'm going to say straight off the bat, congratulations on the Jupiter launch. That was like, I'm sure that you guys were all stressed to the max. Everything went smoothly. You did not take down our network. So that's a pretty big feat, and pretty exciting stuff. So, anyways, the way we like to kick the show off is really to just like start from day one. And like, that's like your sort of developer journey arc throughout the beginning. And I'm talking like prior to crypto. So to start, like, are you sort of a formally trained engineer? Did you get started in college, like self-taught? Like what's your origin story?
So I grew up in Malaysia. Then I actually went to school in somewhere near Chicago. I went to school at University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. Spent like 4 years in college, computer science, engineering background. Then after that, after school, been spending the early years of my career on like different startups,
So real quick, like when you were in college, you just took in the traditional courses, any specialties, basically just like the normal, like probably did some Java, some C#, like whatever they were teaching us in those days at the university.
So I was pretty lucky back then because I went to school during the time like 2008 to 2012. The Bitcoin, white paper came out around like 2009.
Yeah.
So computer science, like pretty big computer science school. A lot of people were talking about it. It's like Bitcoin white paper is very cool. You can do a lot of stuff. So I spent a lot of time in like a distributed system, all these things.
Cool. So then you after you graduated college, like you so what was your sort of first career experiences?
So I was pretty I was trying to start like companies and stuff. So during my freshman year in college, I actually joined like this incubator called Y Combinator. I'm not sure if you guys are aware about it.
I think I've heard about it.
Yeah. So it was like a program, like Hacker News and all these things that was pretty early on. Yeah. So I did that my freshman year. I was lucky enough the company got acquired right after like we launched. Then I was working for like actually pretty funny right now. I was like Sam Altman, the CEO of like OpenAI, was my boss for like 6 months.
Really? So so you went to Y Combinator with a startup that eventually got acquired pretty quickly. Were you an engineer? Were you just a founder? Were you a tech founder? You did both?
Yeah, exactly.
So what did you build and what was acquired? Are we allowed to talk about that?
Yeah. So we built, I'm not sure people still remember Foursquare. You can check it at places and stuff like that.
I've made some joke tweets about like, when are we going to see Foursquare on chain, like a couple years ago. And like, it's like, I totally remember Foursquare. I remember where you could be the governor of McDonald's or whatever the things
Exactly. Yeah. So that's exactly what I built. So I think Foursquare launched around like April or May. Then we launched like a month or 2 months later. Yeah.
Okay. What was the
project?
project?
Obviously, everyone remember Foursquare. And we got acquired. No one remembers. Yeah.
Wait, so are you saying that your Y Combinator project was acquired and turned into Foursquare, or you built a similar thing that was acquired?
No. So I built a similar thing.
Okay. And what was the tech stack in that?
Back then it's actually very funny. So that was right after iPhone just came out, right? So like the whole development thing on iPhone is totally new. Even I remember simple things like reading and parsing JSON is very difficult.
Yeah.
So you have to write your own custom parser and all this thing. It took us a while, but it's actually pretty fun. Like we have to do Objective-C, and that is another funny thing is like we also have to use Java as well to build it. I'm not sure you remember BlackBerry. Everyone's using BlackBerry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm old too.
So we have
dude.
to build
I'm old too. I know.
I see. So everyone has to build like we had to build an app for the BlackBerry so people can start checking in from their BlackBerry phone. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, like having to build your own parser and all that stuff. Like a lot of those times, like I've had other people on, and like the ones that have to like deal with that stuff early on in their careers and like solve problems where you don't have all these crazy abstractions. You have to like hand roll your own shit. That teaches you a lot, and then that makes the rest of your career easier when you start using all these tools. So, like, I mean, I think at the time it probably sucked, but maybe was some fun, but like it benefits you down the road always. So,
yeah, one thing I find very interesting is that like now people build stuff, right? They don't have to think about the constraint of memory, all these things. Back then it's different.
They do on Solana. Yeah,
exactly. So now it's actually very similar duty on Solana as well. You start having constraints like memory stack, like heap memory, all this stuff. But back then, iPhone's the same as well. If I remember correctly, it was like 40 megabyte per app or something like that. So you have to manage the memory like pretty religiously.
Yeah. That just sort of teaches you like, like now it's just like whatever. We'll just use this thing that uses up all of our memory, and like we don't really give a shit. But then like when you like get to the place where you have to, you don't even know where to begin. So that's cool. So after your startup got acquired, what was where did you head after that? Did you head to some more startups, or did you what'd you do?
Yeah, so basically the same thing. I actually never worked for anyone in my life.
Lucky you.
So
lucky
always,
you.
Yeah. So I mean now like I always have to work for the company, so that's like one thing. But after the company got acquired, I actually went back to college. I couldn't get my visa. I was still an international student. So finished on my college. Came back out into the Bay Area, San Francisco. I was in San Francisco for about 6 years, between different startups as well. Yeah.
Okay, and was there any like? So what sort of stuff were you doing like on the tech side? Were like what technologies were you working with like after like in those different jobs you were jumping around on?
Yeah, so during the 6 years time in SF, I helped started 2 companies. So one was this thing called Envoy. I'm not sure you guys know about it. It's like an iPad app, a company front desk. Before you enter the company, you put in your information and whatnot.
Yeah.
So that's like
it's like a sign-in thing, just to like so they can track who's going in and out. Yeah, I don't know if I know the specific one, but I'm familiar with those types of softwares. One of my old companies used to use that. I hated it.
But it's pretty helpful for people who are visiting like other people in the company.
Yeah, exactly.
So so my roommate started that. So I was helping him to grow the company. It was like. At one point, just 2 of us. I think now the company is like 300-400 people. They raised multiple rounds after that. I was there for the seed round, then Series A. I think now they just closed their like 200 million something Series C last year.
Oh wow! So, but you were like you're an engineer at heart. So were you engineering? Were you doing engineering for the project?
Yeah. I always been doing engineering.
Yeah. So what tech stack were you using? Like, I'm just curious, like on your tech stack over the course of your career. So we're doing Objective-C and stuff, and then some Java. So like what other sort of language, like this sort of leading up to where you are now, but like what experience were you getting?
I spent most of my time in Ruby on Rails.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I used to be in the top 100 contributor, open source contributor list or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's impressive. Yeah, I've had a couple people that talk about like Ruby on Rails. There's some people that really still love it a lot, to be honest.
It's one of those things, right? Like you can compare it pretty similar to like Solana engineering, right? It's like people who love it just like fucking love it, right? People who like hate it, it's like would never do it. Yeah. Ruby is the same as well, right? It's like you have DHH, 37 Signal Basecamp, like, talking about it all the time. Then you have like a core group of like people who just love it, like, like I just want to do it for the rest of my life, right? Yeah. So
not only are you a gigabrain engineer, you've spent a lot of your career in Ruby on Rails. You've got acquired multiple companies. I was honestly just like from somebody like you who like I know is like a Rust engineer and Anchor and building like DeFi stuff. It's kind of shocking to hear your sort of like really early origin story as like a startup founder, never working for a company and spending a lot of just your like career building on Ruby on Rails. So that's awesome. So how about this? Like, so I kind of get the picture of like your story. Like I'm sort of jealous and impressed at the same time. But what was your, so you mentioned earlier about like hearing about Bitcoin, like when did you first find out about Bitcoin and crypto, and like what did you think about it when you heard? Were you like, there's two reactions. One is like, this is people with a lot of foresight are like, wow, this could be big and I'm going to get rich. And other people are like, this tech is really cool. Or then there's three things. And the third is like, this is stupid. And like, what the hell are these people doing? So what camp did you fall into? Like when you first heard about Bitcoin?
Definitely the number two camp, right? So, as a freshman, like in college, like hearing about Bitcoin is like definitely very exciting, right? Like when you're in school, you're learning about all this concept, like, like distributed system, like how you can scale like a network and stuff like that. Then security and whatnot. A lot of it are, just theory, right? You have no idea what kind of real life applications that you can do or use with the things that you learn. Then you saw like when I saw the Bitcoin paper coming out, I was like, wow, like it actually uses a lot of things I was just learning in school in real life, right? And I said, wow, like you can actually secure this whole like internet money with like all the things I was learning. Like, yeah, it was definitely very cool. I remember I started mining with my laptop. Like it could still work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Back then.
So kind of like for you, the timing was you were already sort of like interested in doing those things. And then Bitcoin white paper came out. So it was like right place, right time. Like, hey, I'm already thinking about these things. And now somebody just created this thing that's pretty awesome. Was there like, so you said you mined it, but like, did you have any other leading up to whenever you first, like the story before like getting into like building on blockchain or anything like that? Like, did you just watch Bitcoin for a while? Did you mine it? Did you actually like get involved in any sort of like Bitcoin development or like Ethereum development or anything else like along in that time frame?
So the only disappointing thing about Bitcoin is like people say there's like internet money, you can build all these things on it. It's like, but any engineer would know. Like if you start trying to build things on Bitcoin, it's like, no, it's like you cannot do shit with it. Like, the only thing you can do is like you mine it, then you keep it, you use it for some things, like that's it, right? So like I was like, okay, like after mining it, like I was after trying to like tell my roommates about it, like stuff like that. It's like I stopped for like life got busy, like I was start working on these different things and whatnot. And I was like, I stopped doing, I'm like, bothering about it. Then I think right around the time that Ethereum came out, when I started reading about Ethereum, like I was like, holy shit, this is something that you can, actually build on, right? You like the smart contract, you can easily build like a simple, like, dice, like a casino, like on it, like all these things. I was like, wow, like this is something really cool. I remember like the time was like 2016 or 17, sometime around that. Yeah. So I was just like leaving my last company, like thinking what to do next, right? That was like then I decided like, okay, fuck it, like I'm going to spend more time on like the blockchain development and stuff like that. So that was also the time that I came back to Malaysia. So I basically left Bay Area for good. I came back to Malaysia right around 2018. From 2018 to 2020, I was like, trying to do a lot of different things to figure out like what life is going to be like in Malaysia. I would spend like my career and like adult time in Malaysia. It's like, after high school, I came straight to US. So I was like, okay, I was doing a bunch of different things. Contract, the Ethereum contract, helping people to launch token and stuff like that. Yeah.
Cool. So how was did you enjoy that, building smart contracts on Ethereum?
Yeah. I would say it's actually quite tricky in the sense that I don't like the language personally, like Solidity. Like it's fun to write, it's very quick to deploy like something. But a lot of time you just have to worry about a lot of like security concerns, like how to make sure that it's secure.
Did at the time when you were doing that did you, just because you are where you are now and doing what you're doing, at the time when you were building that, did you have any sort of mindset that hey, this is probably not going to be able to scale to consumers? Did this pop through your head?
That's for sure, right? It's like anyone who uses Ethereum, they know how slow it is, right? And how expensive it can be, right?
Right.
I remember back when the day was the first bull run. I mean, the first Ethereum bull run was 2018 or something like that,
2017.
17, 18, yeah.
I made a lot of money and I lost it all on Ethereum. So, all right. So let's talk about the transition. Let's talk about the leap from building on Solidity to where you are now. Without going too deep into your projects that you were involved in. Who plucked you out of Ethereum world and brought you to Solana, or did you sort of do what some of us did, myself included, was just start seeing Anatoly talk about it and thinking hey, this thing might actually be legit? Or what was that moment for you? And when was it? Was it in 2020 or 2021?
I think we started 2021. Yeah, so early January 2021.
Right.
Or 2022.
Yeah.
Slightly more than 3 years.
It was
right
definitely
now.
2020. 2020 was the launch of the network. 2021 was the really early days. And you were definitely around in 21, I remember. Yeah. Because there was only a few of us.
Yeah. So it has been so basically Mel and I have known each other for I met him in 2009. So Mel and I have known each other for quite a long time right now, 2009 until now. So we've been trying to work on things together. We actually work on a couple things together. He actually helped me a lot through the college because I was working for him on a part-time basis when I was in college. Then we keep in touch since then. We talk about different ideas and we talk about different things to build. So at the time he was at Kyber, one of the OG Ethereum companies.
Oh,
and stuff
wow. Okay.
that.
I'm learning all kinds of shit now. I did not know that. Yeah, I know Kyber.
He actually built WBTC when he was at Kyber. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So Mel and I was let's build something together. Then we are looking at Ethereum. We are okay, this thing is not exciting at all. Things are slow and stuff like that. Obviously there are other things as well, and mostly EVM based. We are okay, let's do something different. For me, personally as an engineer, people talk about Rust all the time, and I was okay, well, Solana seems pretty cool, pretty interesting. I was trying to do some simple things on it, transfer and all this, and everything's instant, right?
Did you use the Paul X escrow tutorial to learn anything?
Yeah. So Paul was working with us for the early days as well. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So Paul, that blog post basically consolidate everything I need to learn about.
So many people from the early days, they called it, I say this on this podcast a lot, but it's they called it the Solana Bible, because anybody new that came in, that was really the only piece of content outside of just looking at the code and looking at the tests or like the protocol or like the SPL library like that, and it also had some text to it, so it kind of explains some things. So that's pretty cool that you use that as well. It's just the gift that keeps on giving, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, people like I was talking about, like, I have to do my own JSON parsing. That was actually pretty similar in the early days of Solana development as well, right? You have to like specify each like instruction, 0 index calling this thing, 1 index calling these instructions. Now with Anchor, like people don't have to think about this kind of thing. Yeah.
Shout out to Armani.
Yeah, exactly.
So okay, cool. So you were building, you were learning, you kind of doing the thing, chewing the glass, and you guys were just tinkering around, I guess, for a while, because like now we can start like you guys came up with a so was Mercurial your first project, or did you like guys try to do some other stuff before that?
So Mercurial was always the first project. So we know the network was new, right? Like it's very important to have something like I think Okka was doing something about token swapping. Then we realized that it's very important to have something that stable to stable swap, USDC, USDT. Then hopefully more like we were hoping that they were going to be more stable coins project coming out on Solana. The way we think about it is like we feel like the development of DeFi will be very similar to Ethereum or Solana. So we're like trying to build like whatever is popular on Ethereum, trying to do it on Solana.
That makes sense. Like we got like Solana got a lot of slack for that in the early days, but it's like, what do you expect? You guys built some really great primitives. Of course, we're going to build it on Solana. Like, and then we'll innovate from there. But like
exactly,
essentially, Ethereum just copied Wall Street primitives. Like, if we're being honest, and then Solana copied Ethereum, and so on and so forth. Like these are primitives of finance. So like they're going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. So basically, around the time like we were building like Mercurial, and Ian and like Dylan, they all were building Saber as well.
Right.
So like a pretty strong competitor out there, right? Everyone remembers Saber. We were like the very fast second with Mercurial. So it's very hard to compete. But the one good thing that we built on our UI is like, we allow people to do serum swap as well. So other than just normal USDT, USDC swap, you can also have a simple swap UI, like interfacing on top of Serum. So you have all these different tokens that you can swap. Like that's the only way we can get users to come to our website. It's like, other than stable swap, you can also come here to do like different swap as well. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think a lot of people like essentially they just all leveraged the Serum order book like within their that was phase 1 of every DeFi app early on was like integrate with Serum and provide all that like already existing functionality, and then we'll build our additional products and features around that. So yeah, exactly.
I mean, one thing that's very strong back then was like all new tokens were always launched on Serum.
Right.
Because it's very easy to pick up new tokens and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so, I don't know, like Radium. Radium was the first time I actually like started using like a deck. Like Serum was like honestly like my eyes bled every time I looked at it. I think Radium was like the first like sort of like very pretty looking popular decks. Like it still like wasn't perfect, but it was like, wow, this is like a lot nicer than everything we've been trying to use.
I mean, the speed alone is very, like, it makes everything different. Right? Anyone who have tried using like Ethereum, I talk to people who are working on Solana right now, and they're complaining about, I was like, have you tried Ethereum before? They're like, I've never used Ethereum, like Solana is my first thing. But like, try out Ethereum, then you know why Solana is very different.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't really realize like Solana ecosystem is not a lot of Ethereum converts. Like everything from developers to users this is their first blockchain that they've been building on. There are a handful of them out there. The guys at Saber were Ethereum engineers first. I think pretty sure Tristan at Zeta also did Ethereum. There's a few of them out there, but like a lot of people that are building right now, like they came in for Rust. They didn't even try on any other blockchain because they were waiting for something that was fast enough to run use cases, run order books, like
exactly
flobs and all that stuff on chain. So it's it was good. Like, I think those early days also helped, like, the bar was so high for engineering talent that it brought in some of the smartest people out there that were created the base. It created the base of our engineering talent that then like helped the next generation of people, and then it just kept going. I remember you offering to help like write content or do some things in those early days, because I just started and I was like, there's nothing. I don't even know where to begin to support all these demand for engineers. But Solana Cookbook was one of those things that came out that really helped a lot of people. So, but anyways, let's get back to your story. So you guys had built that first project, and then like what happened from there?
So like I mentioned earlier, right? It's like we have this like Serum interface that everyone was using. Like, you know, like you say, if you go to Serum, looking at all the order book, it's like for a newcomer, it's very overwhelming. But for someone who just want to swap, right? They will rather come to our website. It's like, oh, like just a simple swap form. You put in what you want to buy, you know, what you want to buy with, then like click a button, then you basically skip the whole open book, like order book UI, like just like get the token that you want, right? Then
we're talking about the swap that everybody sees today when they cut, like even like on Jupiter, like it's that simple like what coin and what other coin, and then you hit a button.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly.
So we were like, okay, what can we do more with it, right? Like we started thinking about, or maybe we can like to increase our like mercurial volume, we can actually like, you know, allow people to do like routing, easy routing, you know, other than just buying. Back then, everything is like coupled with Sol, right? You have to like, you know, X token with Sol, then you need to have Sol in order to buy something. So we started doing something simple, like how can we mix and match different token as part of the routing. The first version of Jupiter is actually like a very simple one. Like you can only do simple routing between a few different pools. And everything is mostly funded. There's no contract, there's no nothing. Yeah. Then from there, we are like, oh.
Yeah, but Mercurial was first, and then what about Meteora? Like, what was the order of these products being built?
Yeah, so basically, Mercurial first, then we launched Jupiter. After that, you know, the whole FTX crash and everything, we feel like we need to reset the whole narrative for Mercurial. That's why we launched Meteora as part of Mercurial. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that now that story makes sense. So let's get into Jupiter. Like, so when Jupiter started, like what was the product offering, and like how has that changed like since the beginning?
It's always the same thing, right? Finding the best price for user to swap on Solana. One thing that's very different on Solana versus Ethereum is that gas fees is fixed on Solana, so it doesn't really matter how complicated the routing is, as long as you're willing to pay. I mean, back then it's only 200,000 compute unit. So as long as you can fit anything under 200,000, then you can do something cool, right? So that's why the routing wasn't that exciting back then, you know.
Yeah.
You can only do 200,000. Yeah, so you can only do 200,000 like compute unit. So it's very simple, like sometimes single hop, maybe a simple split, that's it. But that was the goal, right? Finding the best price for the users, and they don't have to pay extra for the fees. Unlike Ethereum. Ethereum, you can find like the most complicated route that use up a shit ton of like gas, but at the same time, gas is not cheap on Ethereum. So if I can find you like a really good price, right? Like even it's like 1% better, it might cost you 2 or 3% more on the gas. But on Solana, it's very different. Like we can find you even 1 cent better, you still pay the same price. Yeah.
Right. And so just for context, for anybody listening, Jupiter is, well, you guys have a lot more product offerings now, but in the beginning, it was basically just a DeFi aggregator, would find you the best swaps across different protocols. So let me ask you, how hard was that, like considering like the sort of open source IDL sort of stuff across the ecosystem? How challenging was that for you to sort of get what you needed to be able to actually do the routing and that hops? Because, you know, like you gotta either be able to reverse engineer some of this stuff, or like have the IDLs or just know what that looks like. Was that challenging to get started?
Yeah. So I think Radiant was still like, I mean, I think until to this day, they were still closed source. But the good thing is like, the ecosystem back then was very small, right? You can like basically jump in the Telegram group, talk to pretty much everyone who's building a Solana.
Yeah.
So we have to it wasn't hard. I think the most difficult constraints mostly on the contract side, like I just mentioned, early days was only 200,000 compute unit. It's very hard to build on top of that. The only thing that you have to figure out is like, how do you create more instruction just so that you can get more than 200,000, right? It's like one instruction, 200,000, then you have two instructions, like 400,000. So we have to like, instead of like doing everything in one instruction, we have to like figure out, like, let's make it like multiple instructions per swap. Yeah, so stuff like that. Talking to Radiant was fun, like they are still closed source, like until for the V1, that was back then, that's what they had. Serum was easy because Serum, everything's open source, they have like this, like do this thing open source idea. Orca was easy as well. They were using the SPL standard program, so that was easy. I mean, back then it was only like 3 or 4 different swap. Then after that, all the new integration is very different as well. People come to us instead of like we reaching out to them. So they help us. Yeah, they were usually like, these are all the things that you need to do. Like you need to like to swap on like X and Y and Z. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like in the beginning, it's like this, like nobody really knows you too much, and then like you have to beg to get it, and then like you build a killer experience, and then like it's a cold start problem. But then once you build a killer product, everybody's like, yo, we want to be on Jupiter. Like, you guys are crushing it. So, and then people were reaching out. So that's awesome. So like that was the beginning. You guys were pretty much an aggregator doing the best routing for the best prices. But things have changed. You guys are more than just that now. So what's the evolution been like since just only doing that?
I mean, it's always part of the plan, right? We always want to offer like this thing that's free that everyone come to and save money, right? Then we always want to do like, okay, what are the things that we can build outside of the simple swap experience? What are the things we can build, right? So we listen to our users a lot, right? Like, or they say, oh, you have this swap experience. Like, can I do DCA? Can I do limit order? Can I do all this thing, right? So the first 2 new products that we launched are DCA. DCA is actually like this DCA limit order. These 2 products are it's actually very simple, like it's very simple contract, but it built on top of the swap experience. If you're someone who's not consistently in front of your computer, you have no idea like what you want to buy. So you can set out a limit order that built on top of the swap API. Like, okay, like I just want to buy Solana when it hits like, like $99 when it's 100, right? Stuff like that. It's a very simple setup on the limit order. We charge, I think it's like 0.1% of like fees or something like that. I don't remember what's the fees like. Then we also have the DCA product. It's the same thing. I just want to buy like Solana over the course of like one day, like 7 days, like 1 month. I don't care about the price I'm going to pay. Like I'll just put like this amount. All these things are built on top of the swap API. Just to get more users on the swap API.
Yeah.
Then last year, I think early last year, I was talking to like one of my engineers, like, yo, like let's do something different. That's like not like the swap API. That's how we came up with the whole the perpetual product right now.
And was like, before we get into like the most recent stuff, is that the last like additional product you had added was perpetuals?
Yeah, exactly. On the UI. I mean, the last one is actually the Launchpad, which we have helped launch the Vent token and also the Jupiter token.
Right. That's what I was getting to. So more recently, like you guys have launched you guys have launched a launch platform to be able to launch tokens. And like you tested it out first, like with Mark Jupe, right?
Yeah.
And then like the Win meme token, the cat token, and then like more recently, you guys have launched the actual Jupiter token. So exactly. Can you explain to me like what you guys like actually built in this launch platform, like what it actually, because you could say like launch platform or whatever, like, but to me it's like, couldn't I just use like just basically mint a token? And then like, I'm just curious what went into this and like what the actual like launch platform actually is and does.
So we always want to do a launch pad, right? In the sense that, like people come to Jupiter all the time. So we do get attention of like users coming to us. But a lot of products, they just don't have the luxury of, users coming to like their website. So the goal there is always to help other projects to get more attention from the users that we have, right? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you guys are leveraging your platform for not only just like to be able to facilitate the whole thing, but also like distribution so that you can leverage your distribution network to give attention to other people's. Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
So that was the goal. Then when we announced that we're going to launch, the Jupiter tokens, everyone's coming to us like, yo, like if you guys are airdropping to like 1 million users, the network will die. Like, like don't do that. Like, figure out a way to like, it's like do it properly, like make sure that it's like, like people like can claim like in badges and stuff like that. We were like, okay, like, why don't we just try out something, right? It's like just do it. Like that's how Mock Jup came along. We just want to make sure that the network can survive. Same thing for the first Launchpad project, Van token as well, right? It was the same idea. Like, can we airdrop to 1 million users and get everyone in the ecosystem to be ready, right? It's actually very exciting. Like, I'm pretty sure when you see the Van launch, Phantom went down, then you have like, some wallet couldn't, like, barely can keep up. A lot of RPC died along the way. But I think there's a very good lessons for everyone in the ecosystem, right? Phantom was like, oh, well, holy shit. I couldn't even handle like the web launch.
There's no doubt about it. These things suck in the moment for whoever's experiencing it. But like, it's just like when in 2022 for the Solana network, all that does is harden it because like really smart people go solve those problems so that next time that doesn't happen. So like as much as it sucks for a lot of people in those moments, like all that does is mean the next time that it's like it's going to be resolved because they'll figure out what went wrong. So like it's good. It's net good in general.
Exactly. So from the Van launch to the Jup launch, right? It was only like what 2 weeks, 1 week, 1 week actually 1 week. Everything
just
was
1 week, just 1 week. Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone has to get ready for the whole launch, right? Like I remember after the Van launch, we were talking to like Brian from Triton. It's like, yo, I think we need a lot more RPC servers and whatnot. I think we went from like 20 dedicated servers to like 60 dedicated servers just to get ready for the launch. Same thing for Phantom as well. We was like, go like kinking Phantom the whole time. It's like, yo, no one can use like, like Phantom to swap right now. Like it's very slow and stuff like that. Then they have to talk to their provider as well. Like I think Blowfish have to scale up their infrastructure just for the launch as well. It's a very cool concept, right? Like on a Web3, like on a normal Web2 company, if you build something, you launch something, no one you can like, it's like everything's on you. Like you don't work with anyone in the ecosystem. It's like you launching this and your competitor wants you to fail, like that's like, but it's very different. Throughout this launch, right, we learned so many things from everyone in the ecosystem. Brian, Triton's providing us the RPC servers. We have a backup with Helios as well. And Helios, like, Mert and Liam was like helping a lot. Nice. Then we have like, we talk to the Phantom team very closely to make sure that the wallets are working like well, Soulflare as well. Like, I think it's a very good relationship that everyone's like, sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. I was just going to parrot what you said. Like that sort of stuff, like, it's my favorite thing when all these teams are working together like that, dude. Like, that's how you win. Like as an ecosystem.
Exactly. So it's like after this whole launch, right? I'm very confident that I'm pretty sure now everyone know. Yo, holy shit, we handled this thing very well, right? We can do a lot crazy, like a lot more crazier thing right now, right?
I'm not gonna lie though, I had the 2022 PTSD. I was looking at the ping time the day before. And it wasn't perfect, like on the network, and I was like, "Fuck, please no." So I had some pretty extreme. I had some anxiety.
Not just you, right? Everyone, like I was like, "Fuck, man!" Like hopefully the network can keep out and stuff like that. Even internally, all the engineers were bad things like, "Yo, can we bring? Like, do you think we will bring the network down? Do we think we will bring the network down?" Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, like Anatoly would have been cheering it on. He'd be like, "Good job taking down the network. Now let's go fix it." That's like, that's just how he's just honest. Just intellectually honest. Like, like Solana's not even near its end state. That could happen. Like, knock on wood, I don't want that to happen, but like, Solana's building a thing that nobody's ever built in the history of humankind, like at this scale, decentralized sort of network. So it's pretty big. In 2022, when Radium was doing their Launchpad, they were they were doing this when the network just already was horrible, and every time we heard like I would hear about like Radium doing another launch, I'm like, please don't do that. But whatever, we're here.
Like, and the crazy thing is like our scale is probably like 100, like maybe 1,000 times more than what Radium was doing back then. And like surprisingly, like not everything was looking very good.
And back in the Radium days when the network really hit those like issues, you could do 100 NFT mint that would have fucked things up. To be honest, it was just it was a very bad 6 to 8 months. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I want to forget it forever. But anyways, like congratulations on all this stuff. Like everything from just you've been here a long time, all the products you've created, finally landing on Jupiter. Getting down this routing stuff, getting the best price for users, and then at the same time building some additional products, including this this Launchpad, which is what's going to be awesome. So I want to shift gears a little bit because I want to be conscious of everybody's time. But I'm going to start out like I got a series of questions I want to ask you, and the very first one, because you've been here for so long and you've seen the evolution of the developer experience, like, how different is it from when you started in early 2021 building on Solana compared to now? Like with everything from like, I'm sure you don't really read content and tutorials, but just everything, there's indexers out there. There's better RPCs, there's Anchor, there's like a bunch of different series of tools. And I'm sure you guys have hand rolled your own, but like when you've been developing and writing code, like how much easier is things that you can find what you want compared to like then and now situation for you personally?
I mean, obviously it's very different right now, right? You mentioned the POX thing. That was the only thing back then, right? It's like, when a new engineer joins us, we'll be like, just read this thing. Like select nothing else you can read, and then try to go deep into source code right now, right? Then in the last like a year or 2 years, like DCA is built by an engineer just joined like less than a year ago, right? He was a Ethereum like a contract engineer. Now like he's doing like full-time Solana contract. Like obviously the different like the experience is very different right now, right? I told him the POX thing. He was like, why should I read these things? Like there's so many like good examples out there right now. I was like, oh cool. Like I didn't even know about it. And then they have to like start telling me, you can do this thing that's like
sometime on point in time, I'd love like maybe in messages later, I'd love to hear like actually how he went, like what he used in order to do that. Some people do tutorials, some read the docs, which have gotten a lot better since then. Cookbook, some people like will do it. There's like 5 different ways that people learn, and I'm just curious how somebody like, because when people ask me coming from Ethereum how to learn Solana, I'm like, erase your memory, forget everything you know about like blockchains, and then restart from scratch on Solana. That's how you do it.
I feel like a lot of time is less about the writing the code. It's more about the conceptual, concepts like
programming model, like PDAs,
exactly,
like all like accounts,
like account based. Like that's one big thing, right? For a lot of people coming from Ethereum, it's like what the fuck is this accounts? Like where do I have to pass it in? Like on Solana, it's like a big giant. I mean, on Ethereum, it's a big giant like state machine, like a machine that you can just call anything that you want, right?
Now, if you're coming from Linux, you might have a little bit better of a time because it's going to be a little more similar.
Exactly. So it's like that is like the idea, right? Yeah.
So what would you? So like just really quick, I'm gonna do like some like shotgun questions. Like so, like right now, like for you, like what's the bane of your existence? Like what is the worst thing about building on Solana for you right now and your developer experience? Like what is the worst? What's the thing that when you have to deal with it if it's something every day or just occasionally, like what's that thing for you that's just like, this is horrible. I can't do this.
Like if you're talking about contract development, it's like
it's whatever you want. Yeah, anything.
Yeah, it's like stack and heat memory management. Like,
Yeah.
that's like still horrible.
Yeah.
It's very hard to know as well. Yeah.
How do you fix that? Like, is there something that could be done like from somebody else that could make that better for you, or is this at the protocol level?
I think just like a few convenient methods to figure it out. And it's very hard to know as well. Like now we are spending a lot of time optimizing CU as well, compute unit. Like you move code around. It's like sometimes you added more code, but the CU go down. We are like, what the fuck? Like it should have cost more, but why is it going down? And these are the things that we have no idea about. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So now the next question is like, what do you enjoy about building on Solana? Like what's the, like, I'm talking like from like for you, like purely technical coding, like what's the thing that like makes you excited about building on it? It actually doesn't have to be technical. It can be whatever you want.
Like personally, I just like the fact that like when you do something and it's challenging, you can always ask people around you to help. Like, people in the ecosystem, like someone come up with a new idea. Now Anchor is being run by a children right now. He's like very been like,
yeah, he built Solana Playground, which is basically remixed for Solana, and then he got moved over. So like, which is awesome. He's incredible. So
exactly.
Yeah, so your favorite thing, like, we get this a lot. Like this happens a lot. To be honest, it's like people were like came for the tech, stayed for the vibes, and like really what that means for most engineers is like it's a very welcoming ecosystem. Anybody's willing to help, whether it's on Twitter, Discord, Telegram. They don't care. Like you can ask a tech question on Twitter, and you'll have 10 people try to help you, which is like can't ask for anything more than that. You don't even so yeah. So the final question I always ask everybody is like, if you probably like, I don't know if you have any young people coming on your Jupyter team, but like, let's say you have like some young new developer that's thinking about building on Solana, or like is just getting started and like they want to be successful. Like, what advice would you give like this next generation that's trying to build on Solana? Because it's not easy. So like, what would you tell that person that's like trying to get started?
Actually, I get that questions all the time. Like, people DM me is like, like, what do you think about, like, what are the things that like I need to build? Like, I always tell them, it's like, like stop thinking what to build to become the next, like, billion-dollar protocol or whatnot. It's like, just start building, right? It's like simple things that you think doesn't work, just build it right now. Like, don't spend too much time thinking about, oh, this is not worth building because it won't be like, the next billion-dollar idea. This is not worth building. It's like, because like, all these business cases that might not be like, there or whatever, right? It's like,
just build, just jump in, jump in there and start building like something that maybe nobody will ever use, but because it's just cool and you like it and you think it's a cool problem to solve, just build it and make it work, and then figure out the rest of the shit later.
Exactly. Acheron's a very good idea, right? He was building the remix of like, Solana. I remember he started with like not even thinking about that. It was like doing something very simple, like we were talking about it. Then started like take on like this like, cool big project himself alone, right? Yeah.
It was really funny. Like I didn't know him. He DM'd me one day and was just like, "Hey, I built this thing. Have you ever heard of Remix?" And I was like, "Go on." And he was like, "Well, I kind of built that for Solana." And I messaged Jacob, who's head of DevRel now. I was like, "Dude, you're not going to believe this, but like somebody actually built Remix for Solana." And then eventually, like they got introduced, and like everybody's like, "This is huge." Like it is. It's a huge thing. It's a huge tool that didn't exist on Solana, that existed on EVM, and like there's a lot of pain for people building on Windows machines, especially, that now have another alternative without having to deal with that.
Exactly. Yeah. That's one thing I'm like I always tell people, it's like just build. Like stop thinking about the business use case or whatever, right? Yeah.
I mean, it's good advice, and like you're not the first person to say it. And when I keep hearing the same thing over and over again, like it's typically pretty strong advice, Like when I do this show, it's like you start to see some repetition and the answers that people give, which is like a high signal that like these are something that people should be listening to. And this show is really for people to hear people's journeys, like you jumped onto Solana had no idea about it, and like here you guys are with like the highest volume sort of DeFi project on Solana. Like that, people need to listen and pay
Not
attention.
just Solana, no, like, sometimes we beat Uniswap as well.
Actually, sorry, my bad. That is true. And like that's insane. And so like the lesson in there is just like, just build. It doesn't mean you're going to get it right the first time, like it did with your guys' first protocol. And if you fail, which I don't think you really failed, but you were just like, we have some better ideas, and you did that. And then like people who just keep grinding, like you knew nothing about Solana like 2.5, 3 years ago, and now here you are with like one of the most prolific like DeFi protocols in all of blockchain.
I mean, we have more than 100,000 users, like sometimes like a day.
Yeah.
Like how many protocol out there can tell people they have more than 100,000 daily users?
You need to get all of Malaysia using Jupiter. So like you just get you get on that.
Actually, surprisingly, Indonesia is pretty big.
No, yeah. So we know that Indonesia is like super heavy user base. So like that's
low volume, but like high count.
Yeah, but hey, man, like that's helping people out. They're probably like
That's exactly how it should be.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyways, man, we've come to that time. It's the end. Siong, like, thanks for coming, man. Like, I'm glad that you pushed this off a few times on us, rightfully so. You had something more important, like the Jupiter launch to take care of, but it's kind of...
I feel bad for that.
No, don't feel bad. Like, it's actually kind of cool that I get that we got to talk directly after it and hear the story and like and hear like what you guys have been up to, like hearing your story and just how you landed here and how this has all been built in just such a short amount of time. Is like this whole thing is for younger developers to watch as inspiration. So like I really enjoyed this conversation. So thanks for coming, man, and I'll see you out there on the interwebs. Cheers, everybody.